Hey everybody, it's Jason and welcome to this fantastic interview with David Wright from Tabletop Scotland, the man behind Tabletop Scotland. Firstly, I want to say, while I didn't actually come, unfortunately I wasn't able to make it. One of my friends went up to Perth almost last year, I guess it would be now. And I believe you turned over 1,000 unique people.
Yeah. So Ronnie, I think Ronnie is the one you're talking about, is it?
Or, right,
yeah. So Ronnie came and he ran a game of Savage Worlds. So we had over 1,000 unique players, attendees. On the Saturday it was something like 860, and on the Sunday it was about 650. So 1,500 when you add those two numbers together, but it was 1,000 unique individual attendees, which is frankly amazing for our first convention.
Yeah, I was just about to say, because you obviously you get your big conventions over here, like the Expo and then Essen overseas, and then you've got lots of different small ones like Long Con, Concrete Cow and things. But the fact that this one kind of jumped to the 1,000 already is really good to see.
Yes.
So I guess my first question is, how did Tabletop Scotland start?
So it started through frustration as much as anything else. As you say, there's a lot of little cons in Scotland, in the UK in general. In fact, I did some analysis about 2.5 years ago, which showed that in England in particular, there's roughly a convention every weekend. Now, they'll scale from 50 people to 250 people. So they're small in that context, but they are conventions. They run every year. They have either board game or RPG focuses. In Scotland, there's been 2. And that always irked me a little bit. So I thought, well, why aren't there more in Scotland? And then I think it was at Expo or before Expo, this would have been about 3 or 4 years ago, someone said to me, why don't you start one? I was like, okay, I'll have a look at that and have a think about it. And knowing me as these people did, they knew it would chip away at my brain and I would start to think about it in more detail. So about 3 or 4 years ago, we looked at doing something in Edinburgh, but we couldn't find a venue that ticked enough boxes. So those boxes would be things like easily accessible via public transport, good space, flexible space, so not just a big hall that had to have a variety of different spaces, and just things like that, trying to get the right combination of elements, plus obviously a pound sign associated with that didn't blow any budget that we may have had. So that kind of, we almost went ahead with one venue in Edinburgh, but decided against it, partly because of the cost model, but also the size, the scale of what we were trying to achieve, we didn't think we could do. So we backed off from that. The idea kept chipping away in my brain, and then we stumbled across a venue in Perth. My wife, who owns a wheel shop, and she was at called the Woolly Brew. I need to give it a plug. Called the Woolly Brew, which is, and she's had that now for 7 years. And she was at a yarn festival in Perth and came back from that and said, "You need to go and have a look at that venue." And I was like, "Okay, what venue?" So it was really a case of, the convention kind of got announced roughly a year ago now, because it was just held the 1st and 2nd of September this year. But we went public just over a year ago, and roughly a month before us going public was the process of visiting, planning, getting the team in place. In fact, team in place was really already there. I knew who I wanted to work with. And then it was really just, right, okay, we're going to do this. And then we went public, and it just kind of went from there. The biggest challenge was kind of going back to your point of getting over 1,000 in your first year. It's like, well, who'll come? How do we attract exhibitors? How do we make sure we've got the right blend of events and things like that? So it came from, as I say, it came from a frustration that there really wasn't enough presence in Scotland, but also that I thought, well, the ones that are in Scotland, they're the sub 300 bracket. I didn't see why there couldn't be one bigger, essentially. And we've now made one. And we have to do it again, which is the current challenge. But anyway,
I suppose if you get that many, then yeah, you feel like you have to do more next year?
Yeah. I mean, we had in the run up to this year not committed to doing a second year, although privately we'd already booked the venue. But we hadn't committed to anybody. None of our exhibitors knew we were going to do a second year. And literally on the Sunday, I had 2 or 3 exhibitors say to me, so you're doing it next year, aren't you? And I was like, well, we haven't committed to do that. And one of them threatened me with physical violence if we didn't do it next year. And I was like, okay, fine. I will reveal to you that we are doing it next year, if only just to protect myself. No, it was one of these things that I wanted to do it as much to prove it could be done, but also knowing that it wouldn't just be a 1-year thing. We kind of went into thinking 3 years. Let's see if it works the first time, then we'll commit to another 1 or 2 beyond that, and then let's see what happens. Because right now, you could argue the hobby's at a bit of a peak. That could change.
Yeah, that's true actually. But in terms of this con, I know that there was quite a variety there in terms of what kind of games were played, but did you have a specific aim for this con, or was it literally more to do with, let's get a con up in Scotland because there's not very many, as you said?
It did have a particular vision, I suppose would be the right word. I'm a role player at heart. That's where my hobby started. But over the last probably longer than that, 6 or 7 years, I've become more of a board gamer, largely because of I can take one off my shelf, which is like the shelves behind me, and just go, right, okay, let's play this. And that enables you to do things in a shorter time period. But seeing cons like Expo grow, I mean, Expo's gone, it's now the 3rd biggest con in the world, and that's taken them 13, 14 years to do that. Then you look at Aircon in Harrogate, which started in Mark's house 4 years ago, and it's now I think they're approaching the 2,500 attendee bracket. I may have that number wrong. Mark will correct me if he sees this. And they're very much a board game centric convention. And I think what we wanted to have was, let's replicate parts of both of those two things. So take Aircon, have an approach of a large open play space. Duncan, one of the team, is a board gamer like I, and he's very much into going to conventions to play board games. So it was like, let's replicate that. But I wanted to have a RPG-centric element to it that would give us, or give attendees, the opportunity to come along and just try something, where they were completely new to the hobby, or they hadn't played it for years, or they were heavily active role players. The role-playing bit in particular had to be quite focused in the sense of D&D in particular in Scotland is quite strong right now with the Adventurers League. So I wanted to capitalise on that. But beyond that, there are so many other role-playing games out there that it was like, right, who can I approach that I know, or through people that I know, that I, for one better phrase, can trust to run a game in public, that I would invite to run games at it. And that became, so mates like my friend Richard, my friend Bill, Mark Mulpickett, who's a friend of Simon Burley's. It's just like, and obviously Ronnie as well. It was kind of like, let's try and get a variety of other games as well. And that's where the role-playing schedule came from. I think we had 15 tables, not running in every slot. We had 5 slots over the weekend, but if you rough that, make that, say, 70 tables over a weekend, that's still a sizable role-playing presence at any convention, never mind a first-time convention.
And in terms of the convention as a whole, what for you do you think is one of the most difficult parts of organising such an event? I was being asked on the Saturday. I'm maybe going to go on a slight tangent here, and I'm prone to that, Jason. So please tell me if I bring me back on track. On the Saturday, people kept saying to me, "So have you relaxed yet? Have you relaxed yet?" And I was like, "Well, all the work's been done. The challenge with anything like this is that you build something." We had pre-sales tickets with pre-sales of I think it was 670, and beyond that you have no control really over what happens, and I am prone to being a control freak, so when people start coming in the door, it's like, right, okay,
my work's now done. We're just there to firefight. If something happens or something goes wrong, the convention team were there just to make sure that that was resolved. The biggest challenge for us was convincing people that we were worth coming to, because we were a first-time convention. People didn't know who we were. People didn't necessarily know who we as individuals were either. So we didn't have a reputation. So it was one of those things where you go, even for the attendees, it was a leap of faith. Can we put on something that attracts them? And to combat that, from an exhibitor perspective, we targeted exhibitors that we felt could give people reasons to come as much as anything else. And having Geek and Son come on board very early as one of our sponsors kind of sent a bit of a signal of intent to people that we were serious about this. I mean, if the viewers don't know who Geek and Son are, they make very nice gaming furniture, and it's one of these things where they are a physical, tactile product, so therefore people have to come and see them to determine their worth. And that was getting them on board was like, okay, that's important, because people go, oh, Geek and Son, right, I'll go have a look at that. Flowing on from that, we managed to get Pelgrane Press, who make the Gumshoe RPG series, the Night Black Agents and things like that. And that was partly through connections. So I know Kat Tobin, who is the managing director of Pelgrane, so it was not doing a mate's deal, it was still trying to make sure it was commercially relevant for them to come. And then really looking at a decent blend of exhibitors that would give our attendees something to do other than play games all weekend. If they wanted to do that, they could do that as well, which is fine. But it also gave them something else to do. Similarly, getting the retailers in Scotland, of which at the time of the convention, I thought there was 26 game stores. It turns out there's 31 in Scotland. But trying to get them engaged and therefore their customer base engaged was really key. And I made a point of going to visit a number of them in December last year to just sit down with them and go, this is what I'm doing. Would you like to be a part of it? Whether it's to exhibit or to help us organise it or run an event at it or whatever it is, I wanted them to be part of it as well. So that there was a lot of thought went into how do we engage that audience, and that's my email making noises. I'm going to close the Outlook. Apologies. Too many things going at once. But it was trying to find all the different engagement points that we could do to get people to come. And so all of that work was really hard and did require a lot of thinking and a lot of planning. But as I said, when the doors open, it's kind of done then. Our work's done once the doors open, because everyone just then experiences the convention, and you try and make sure that you breathe and that you eat and that you don't, and that you're there to handle any situations that occur. And not everything went according to plan, which is fine, and we'll learn from that. But it's just making sure that what we can plan for was as planned as much as possible. Helps that I used to be an ex-project manager. So, planning is kind of what I do.
Yeah, I was going to ask you actually, because of course, they're being the first one, but then you tend to learn anyway from any event you put on in terms of what I could do better. What was your main take on how this con went and what you want to then put into practice for next year, do you think? Or are you not quite at that stage yet?
I think that thinking is still evolving. We had a bit of a post-convention review about 2 weeks afterwards as a team. We kind of left it alone. Well, not entirely, but we tried to leave it alone for 2 weeks to then think about what would we change for next year. So I think we had some things that didn't work very well, and one of them was our bringing by. Now, partly that was down to 3 months prior to the convention, we weren't going to have one. And that was me that was making that kind of call. I was going, no, I don't want the admin nightmare, the space overhead that a bringing by has, because they always have them. They're great things for people to come with and get in hand their games in and make money and then spend that money. And we were taking, if we were going to do one at that point, it was like, we'll take X amount, we'll give that to charity. But we kept going back and forth. And because our floor plan started to get more and more locked down as time went on, we ran out of options as to where we could put it. So when we ended up changing our mind, or the guys convinced me that we should have one, more precisely, we put it in a space which was fine from an amount of space to put a ring and buy in, but wasn't fine from a traffic management perspective. And it actually caused all sorts of issues. There were issues that thankfully our attendees were very kind of gracious about. They kind of said, well, it's your first convention, these things are going to happen. But actually, since then, we've spoken to other convention teams, and they've said it doesn't matter what you do, it's always going to have those problems, because a bring and buy is just that's what happens. I think we completely underestimate the number of people that would be needed for it. We also completely underestimate the number of people who would want to bring games for it. So next year, where our bring and buy will be in a completely different location. It'll have significantly more traffic space, as it were. So there'll be an actual section for it, where that particular traffic will flow, and that, he says, hopefully will make that less painful. It is very much a fingers crossed thing. But in saying that, it didn't go horribly wrong. There was no disaster with it. It just was frustrating that actually we didn't think hard enough about it. So we're now thinking a lot more about it. Other things that didn't quite work were actually sign up for events. So we made a decision, particularly for role-playing games, that because you go to lots of different conventions like Expo, you have to book in advance for role-playing games you want to play in. Other conventions like Concrete Cow, I think, is actually one of these where you just turn up and then you sign up on the day.
Yeah.
I think there's even some that do raffles for seats. It's like you're allocated randomly to which games you go to, which just sounds a bit chaotic to me, but never mind. I think for me, I wanted to cater for an audience that wanted to pre-plan, but also wanted to just turn up. So we made it so that if it was a 6-player game, 4 seats would be bookable online and 2 seats would be bookable on the day. Obviously, if all 4 seats weren't booked online, then we would just make it the rest of the seats would be bookable on the day. So that kind of worked in the sense that we had a lot of games fill from their 75% or 66% quota online. So we knew those games would run, which was quite comfortable from a planning point of view to say, yeah, that game's going to run. I don't need to worry about it. But on the day, our mustering solution didn't quite work properly. We had it in a different location for role-playing games, and we had it for board game events, and then we had it for seminars. So it was like actually having it in 3 different locations made no sense whatsoever. So we're refining that for next year. We think we know what the answer is, but we're still to kind of bottom that out. And again, I'm sure there will be problems with that anyway, because there will be. But it's trying to make it as pain-free as possible, or painless as possible. It won't be pain-free. And those were the 2 things that went wrong over the weekend. There were some other challenges, as ever. Like at one point we thought we didn't have enough chairs, and then we had some challenges with prize support for some of our events, but they didn't disrupt the convention as in a real way, because we just managed to move things around. And in the case of the prize support, it was provide details of the winners to whoever was providing the prize, and it would be shipped to them at a later date. So it was an inconvenience rather than an actual problem, if you follow me. So yeah, it just all came together. And as I say, on the Sunday, I was much more relaxed. I think the adrenaline had stopped running as well, but it was one of these things where I think around about lunchtime, I just started wandering and chatting to people, whereas up till then, I had been busy doing stuff, which was great just to kind of soak it all up. And even just the whole experience of doing it made me realise, yeah, I want to do it again now. Even though already booked the venue, it was like, yeah, I've enjoyed this, as painful as it's been in some cases. It worked. People have enjoyed themselves. The number of families we had was incredible, including in role-playing families. We had a mother and daughter who hadn't played anything, and they played D&D. But what we did was, or what Greg, who was kind of looking after our D&D area, did was he split them up. He didn't put them on the same table. So they were able to enjoy the games without thinking about each other at the table type thing. So stuff like that all worked really well.
And speaking of next year, so Tabletop Scotland 2019, with things like the role-playing, board games, the seminars, have you got anything new planned or anything extra on the table in terms of what people can enjoy and experience?
Yeah. I don't have anything concrete to announce on that, but what I can say is, so we've gone into 2019's planning with essentially looking at 2018 and going, what worked? Let's do more of that. What didn't work? Let's review it and decide if we're going to do it again or not. Right. So, and in some cases we won't do some things again, but what worked? So role playing worked. So we're going to have more role playing. How much more? That's obviously down to how many GMs we get, right? But I'd like to increase that from the kind of 15 tables to a minimum 20 tables. If I can get it to slightly more than 20, great. But 20, just small steps is kind of how I'm looking at it. If we can get a 25% increase in the number of tables and therefore a 25% increase in the number of players, fantastic. That would be lovely to do. And the same with the kind of board gaming area, we're looking to, our open play space was absolutely mobbed on the Saturday night. I think it was about 8 o'clock. We all kind of stopped and went and stood in an area called the Gallery, which is where all the D&D was getting played. But overlooking the hall, it was great just to kind of stand there and watch this hall full of people playing games. So it was like, okay, we need more space next year. Now we have more space. So it's how much more do we allocate to that? That's a debate that we're still having as a team. But I'd like to make it more space in general, rather than to try and compress more into the same space. Is let's just grow it, because one of the key bits of feedback we got in general was the amount of space we left between tables and between the backs of chairs was actually really good. It was really comfortable. You didn't feel like sardines in a tin. You felt that you had the space to sit and relax. And I think that's a challenge at any convention, really. But we wanted to. I think next year we will repeat that space allocation. Exhibitors, we want more. And from speaking to a lot of the ones who were with us in 2018, a lot of them want to return, if not all of them. And some of them will take more space, some of them will take less, depending upon where they are as a business. But there are other exhibitors that we're already speaking to, that we're trying to attract. In fact, Duncan's just back from Essen, where he went there as a punter, because he goes to Essen every year, but he also went as a Tabletop Scotland kind of person as well. So he was speaking to a number of exhibitors there, both UK and non-UK companies, about potentially coming, which, if they all say yes, gives us a completely different problem we deal with. But that's not a bad problem to have. And they won't all say yes. So it's trying to find a way that we grow each element of what worked, and either tweak or discount things that didn't work. And in fact, seminars, so what did we have in 2018? We had a board game design seminar by Bez from Stuff by Bez, and we had a games accessibility seminar by Michael and Pauline from People Like Us. So, and we had a live show as well by our friends at Unlucky Frog, who had you on recently. What we want to do next year is do more than just that. If we can, space-wise, allocate essentially a room that's dedicated to that function for the whole weekend, then great. And I'm already speaking to people about a world-building seminar and an art in the hobby seminar, stuff like that. And if we can combine that with other things, great. If we can get some names there, even better, which goes back to the exhibitor conversation. It's trying to find the right combination of things. And I think for me, I want to have roleplay centric elements to it, because if I take an example of the world building one, a lot of world building conversations emanate from the role playing community as opposed to the board gaming community. So that would be a good one to have. And if I can get the right creators that I know personally to come, then great. Similarly, with the art ones, when I was at Gen Con, there was a film called Eye of the Beholder, which is about the art history of D&D, and I've been speaking to the makers of that film to see if we can get that and show it, and if I can combine that then with and they've said yes to that. I just don't have my copy of the film yet. So I don't think it comes out until February. But anyway, if I can then combine that with some artist people that I know and bookend it, that would be a really nice thing to have. So have a seminar about art and have a film about art. If we can do things like that, and these are all tentative, none of these are confirmed in the schedule yet, but if these are all the things that I want us to do, and invariably some things that we want to do we won't do, because we'll make a decision not to do them. But right now, I want to do more of what we did that worked. That's kind of the simple maxim that I've got for this. It's what worked, we do more. What didn't work, well, we won't do that again. And there wasn't very many things that didn't work. It's just trying to make sure that we're being sensible about what we add, rather than making it too different. Ideally, we would like to kind of branch out a bit more and add even a wargaming flavour to the convention, but I think it's too early for us to be thinking about that. We're not at that stage of evolution as a convention, and being simple about it, wargaming takes up significantly more space than any other aspect of the hobby. So it's trying to be conservative about what we put in and then just replicate what worked.
And yeah, having said that, you sound like you've got a lot of scope there, which is brilliant. And even though you've just, you've broke a really good target so far, you've still got all these ideas, which is brilliant. So in that sense, I do hope that 2019 is a fantastic success once again for you. I hope everything goes really well next year. But is there anything, just to wrap up, that you want to say to anybody watching Accomplice One today?
Well, if you're in Scotland or you fancy coming to Scotland next year, the convention is the 24th and 25th of August. It's in Perth. So if you don't know Scotland, it's essentially in the heart of Scotland, if you look at it as a map. It's also, if you fancy combining it with a holiday, you can go north and visit whiskey distilleries. The use of the word whiskey seemed to attract a lot of people for some reason. I don't know why. But I think the key thing is that if you're looking for a convention that is big in scale but has that friendly atmosphere, all of the feedback we've had has given us that feeling that no one felt it was too busy. Everyone felt it was just about right. Now, hopefully we can maintain that, because that's actually probably the most pressured item that we've got, is how do we maintain that balance. If you want to know more about the convention, the website is tabletopscotland.co.uk. We are on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram and various other places, but you start at the website and that takes you everywhere else. Our ticket sales go online the 31st of January. And between now and then, we'll be making some announcements about who's coming. And if we land some extra people that we think we can get, that'll be really exciting. But no, I'm really excited for it, and it's taking up a lot of my spare time, if not all of my spare time. But that's, as I'm sure you can empathise with, that's very much what your day has probably been like for the last few months coming up to Complus. But I think the biggest difference for me is that we now have a convention in Scotland that I would want to go to as an attendee. I do go to other conventions, and I will be at Glasgow Games Festival, which is in the next few weeks. But it's not what I would want if I was organising a convention, which is why we've now got Tabletop Scotland.
Well, it's your baby, essentially.
It is now, yes. As I say, I have no choice. I would have physical injury on my body if I didn't do this again. So,
well, thanks anyway for taking time to be interviewed by me, and I hope that, as I said, the rest of the year goes smoothly for you.
Thanks very much, Jason, and good luck this weekend.